Welcome to the Ogles channel. Thanks for watching today. Let's continue our journey to finish every single Game Boy Color game. And they're going to focus on the original farming simulator that started all, Harvest Moon. Now there are 3 separate Harvest Moons on the Game Boy Color, and we're only going to focus on the first one right now. However, this is not the first Harvest Moon game that ever came out. There's actually the SNES version that came out first. It's sort of a watered down port of that particular game. However, being watered down a little bit, does it hold up on its own? We're going to find out in today's review. Now, this particular video did get moved up in the queue a little bit because one of my subscribers, Haunted, commented on one of my earlier videos saying that Harvest Moon was one of his favorite Game Boy Color games and to cover it sooner than later. So naturally, moves up in the queue and we're going to be covering Harvest Moon today. But let's go ahead and dive into Harvest Moon on the Game Boy Color. Now, I always like to start the videos off by looking at the box art for the game. And there are actually 2 separate covers for Harvest Moon because there are 2 releases for it. There's the original Game Boy release, which is in black and white. And then there's the Game Boy Color release, which is obviously in color. But there's really no difference between the 2 games. We're just going to group them together here. We're going to play through the Game Boy Colored version. And so looking at the cover here, it's a great cover for this game. Of course, you have your 2 main farmers up top, and you get to choose if you want to be the boy farmer or the girl farmer. And so you don't actually get to be both those characters. You get to choose one or the other. You have your horse off to the left-hand side. You can use to ride around the farm a little bit, help to harvest your crops. You have your cow off to the right-hand side, who's going to provide milk to your farm, as well as your overall happiness rating, depending on how many cows you have. You have your pets down at the bottom. You get your little cat, your little dog. You have your chicken off to the side with all her little chicks scattered about. A wheelbarrow just bursting full of vegetables. These little sprites or these little gnomes scattered about as well, who are like your helpers sort of behind the scenes, help to upgrade some of your tools and such. And a nice little farm scene in the background, even though that actually looks more like an actual photograph instead of cartoony. But regardless, a nice little farm scene in the background as well, just to sort of represent like this is definitely a farming game through and through. And the cover represents pretty much everything that you can possibly do inside the game. But at the same time, that might be my only complaint about the cover as well, because it's almost like it's over-representative. And what I mean by that is like at the top of the little pile of vegetables here, you have the boy and the girl character, and it looks like they're, you know, best friends or like in a relationship or something. And you can't ever have both characters in the same game. So like the marriage aspect or the relationship aspect is in some of the main console versions of Harvest Moon is not present in this game, and so you're not going to have that human companion to sort of mix things up a little bit. And also, you don't get to have both pets. You don't get a cat and a dog. You get one or the other. And so it's almost like there's more than you're going to actually experience in one single playthrough on this particular cover. And that's not necessarily like a huge deal, but at the same time, the game is going to, especially in the second year of playing, get pretty darn lonely. And this picture here makes it look like it's just simply a party the entire time. And that's not exactly the case on your little farm that you're going to have as you go. And also, there is no pitchfork in the game, and that is on the cover, I just now noticed. And so, misrepresenting the pitchfork, Harvest Moon. But let's go and get into the main game. Now, when you load the game up here, you got a nice little intro coming up to your farm. Very colorful, got some great music in the background. Just an overall beautiful little scene here. It says the little title, Harvest Moon. And you start the game up and you get to select your character, a boy or a girl. I select a boy, I name him Ogle, because Ogles wouldn't fit. I don't understand that. It happened in the game Final Fantasy Adventure as well. Like, could they not just add one more blank in there? But regardless, my character named Ogle. Then you get to choose your pet. I chose the cat, because obviously. And named the cat Lalo, because I have a little orange cat named Lalo. And it's a little orange cat in the game. I mean, it's meant to be. And then when you start the game actually up here, Grandpa comes down from, I guess, heaven as a little sprite or a little spirit. And he said that since he's passed away, his farm has been completely neglected. And he wants you to go live there to get it back up to its former glory days. And so basically get the crops going again, get the animals living there again, get the communications in town back up to snuff a little bit. And basically just get the overall farm back to what it was before he even passed away. And he'll come back on the 30th of every winter, which is the last day of the year, to do an overall evaluation of your farm and to see if it lives up to his expectation or not. And if it does live up to his expectation, he'll deem you the master rancher. And when you get that title, you officially have won the game, and that's when the credits begin to roll. But it does take a few years before you can actually get that title. But after he does his little spill here, he then gives you an overall tour of the farm. He shows you the trading post where you put your vegetables to sell them off for money at the close of every day. He shows you the silos where you put the wheat in order to feed your cows and your chickens. He shows you the barn where your cows are going to go in order to get milk. He shows you the chicken coop where your chickens are going to go in order to get the eggs, and just gives you an overall tour of your entire farm here and sort of what you have to do. This is the only real tutorial that you're going to get. For the most part, you just have to figure everything out on your own, but at the same time, it's mostly self-explanatory. if you have even the most basic idea of how a farm functions. Now from here, you're going to begin your adventure inside your house. You're going to finish off your morning coffee or your morning tea, and you're going to notice like everything inside your house is completely interactive, whether it's like checking the stove here, or checking your journal, or checking the clock, or turning the TV on and off, or looking at the calendar, or getting into bed to go to sleep, or checking your plant bed over here, or simply picking up the cat and taking the cat from one corner of the house over to the other corner. Everything inside your house is very interactive, and I can't say it like makes a big difference as far as like gameplay goes, but it is cool that developers took the time to try to make your house as interactive as possible. Now from here, I exit out of my house and begin to explore my farm a little bit, and I'm going to notice like there's a ton of stuff around the farm that just simply needs to be cleared out, like bushes and rocks and stumps. I mean, my farm is in a complete state of disarray. Grandpa wasn't kidding around when he said it was falling to the shits here. But I continue to look around the farm a little bit. I go into the barn where the cows are going to go, completely vacant. I go into the chicken coop, completely vacant. I go into the little tool shed. I look at the tools I'm going to get as far as like an axe, a hammer, a hoe, a scythe, and there's plenty of blank space in there as well. So I know more tools or seeds are going to be coming my way. But there's a little door in the back. So I go through the little back door of the tool shed, and I go down these little stairs here into the cellar. And this is where the fairy people live, or the gnomes, or I think they're called sprites inside the game. And basically, if you give them a mushroom pretty much every single day off of one of the little mushroom trees here, they will aid you in your farming journey. As far as like if you turn the game off, they will continue to work on the farm and harvest your goods, even when you're not playing the game as the days go by. And also, there's going to be some occasions where they can like upgrade your equipment as you go as well. So these people down here, you're definitely going to want them to be your friend. You don't have to give them a mushroom at all, and they won't do anything for you as the game progresses. But hey, the mushroom is right there. Every day, pick a mushroom, give them a mushroom, get their help. But we go back out of the tool shed here, and we go to the left side of my farm, and I can finally go into town. Now, town is not like an interactive town you get to walk around in. Town is basically just 6 buildings here, and you can select which building you want to go into. It's a single screen image of you talking to a town folk, and they're going to be able to sell you different items. And so let's go through the shops inside the town real quick. The first shop you're going to come across is going to be the flower shop, and of course, or the seed shop, and she's going to be able to sell you different seeds for whichever season you're in. Grass seed is usually sold in every season except for I think winter. But you can of course purchase your seeds, and this is what you'll plant on your farm to grow your crops. The next little place here is gonna be the juice bar, which I think is supposed to be an actual bar, and they just changed it to juice bar like with localization to make it a little bit less I don't know, I guess more G-rated for kids because it's only open at nighttime. And what kind of juice bar is only open at nighttime? That's an actual bar, but whatever. And the next little shop here is going to be the carpenter shop, and this is where you're going to get your house upgrades, extra materials for that. Then you have your opportunity to go to church off to the far left, and at the church you can either pray or get your fortune read to you. Below that's going to be the tool shop, and you're going to get like tools as far as like your milking equipment or your brush for your cows. We don't need any of that yet because we don't have any cows. And then in your middle part down here is the restaurant where you get food to refill yourself. And you're going to want to buy a lot of food because that's going to help your energy level to continue working like all day long. If you're not like well fed, you can only work like half a day. So you definitely want to have your stamina up from your food. And then in the far right down here is going to be where you can actually buy your farm animals and like your chickens and your cows, as well as like cow medicine and chicken medicine and potions and such as that, and overall just stuff for your farm animals. Now, we can't do a whole lot at the moment, so our only real option here is simply to go back to the flower shop, buy some seeds from her in order to plant those on the farm. And I do have $1,000 that I found inside my grandfather's drawers at the cabin that we have, and so I spend that money on turnip seeds as well as potatoes, and she throws in a free watering can out of the kindness of her heart. I go back to the farm, take some of the areas that I've of course plowed up here with the hoe, throw out the seed, get the water from the local watering trough or the watering hole here, bring it back, water the plants, and of course now it's just simply a waiting game. We have to wait for the plants to grow. And so while I still have some energy left, I go around my little farm here, clean out some more bushes, rocks, stumps, go through this, go to bed, wake up the next day, see that my plants have grown a little bit. I get some more water from the local watering hole here. I water the turnips, but obviously I have more time inside the day, so I plow more area around the farm, plant some more turnips, clean out some more bushes and rocks and stumps and things like that. And I am trying to plow every single area around my entire farm, because as I was plowing through it, I realized you can find what are called super berries, and you want to collect all 6 super berries in a playthrough or throughout your entire years on the farm in order to get to master rancher status. So I want to clear out every single area I can on the farm, but that also opens up more areas for me to grow crops in. So it's sort of a double benefit. as I go. And as I'm waiting for these turnips to grow, my daily routine of watering them and clearing out around the farm, my save file somehow gets corrupted. And so I lost everything up until this point and I had to restart the game. And it wasn't like a huge deal, but I am going to modify my farm a little bit, make it look a little bit more clean and more orderly as far as like how I am planting things. And so the video footage is going to look a little bit different from my early farm to my secondary farm here. But one day I wake up and wouldn't you know it, there's a massive turnip right there inside my garden, ready to be plucked from the soil, taken to the trading post, put in the little trading post, clean all the turnips out, put them in the trading post, and I get paid at 4 p.m. for all of the turnips that I put in my little trading box. And so I can use this money now to buy more turnip seed, more potato seed, and also at this point if I want to buy grass seed. Because I figured out if I want to have a chicken or a cow, I have to have some grass seed. I have to grow some grass in order to harvest that hay to put inside the silo. So I dedicate the entire upper left corner of my farm up here in order to just simply grow grass. So I'm going to continue to expand this as my seasons progress, but everything to the upper left of the farm is just simply grass 100% and nothing else I'm going to put up there. And you have to wait for the grass to mature and take the little scythe up there, harvest the grass out, and it automatically goes to your silo. And once you have enough grass in the silo or enough grass being grown, then you can finally purchase your first farm animals. Now, as I'm waiting for all this to happen, I'm continuing my turnips and my potatoes and my grass. One day I'll wake up and another cool event happens. I'm greeted by a horse that showed up on my farm. And so now I have my first horse. However, I can't ride the horse. It's just sort of a baby horse. And I have to wait for, the season to progress in order to finally be able to ride the horse, use saddles on the horse to help my harvesting. But for the moment, it's cool to have a little friend, a little horse around the farm with me. And I did forget to mention that it gives you the option to name your horse. And I named my horse Belle because my other cat I have around the house is Belle. And, if I have a cat in the house named Lalo, I want all my cats to feel represented inside this game here, so naturally the horse is going to be called Belle. And of course, as the daily chores progress here, I continue to expand the garden a little bit. I dedicate the entire bottom part of my farm down to turnip growing for the spring season, and right beside the house I'm dedicating it more toward the potato patch. As I'm continuing my farm life here, eventually one morning someone else shows up at the farm, and she says if I give her my watering can, she'll basically convert it over into a sprinkler. So of course I'm going to do that. I give her my watering can, and then a few days later I'm able to buy the sprinkler from the shop, and the sprinkler I don't have to refill constantly from the watering hole, and instead of watering one plant at a time, I can now water a 9-square patch of the crops that I'm trying to grow. And this is an enormous step up as far as like speed on growing crops, because the faster you grow crops, the more you can harvest, the more money you can make, and the more items you can buy. Now, of course, once I buy the sprinkler, the farming part's going really well. I've got grass coming in at the same time. I go back to the town, and for the first time I go to the animal shop and I buy my very first chicken. And so I'm pretty proud to have my chicken. I'm a little disappointed I didn't get to name the chicken, but that's okay. I get to have my first chicken inside a chicken coop. And when the chickens are over there, of course, you have to take some hay from the silo, throw it in a little feeding area here. And the chickens are going to roughly once a day lay an egg, and you can actually take the eggs and harvest it or put it in the little trading box here as well and sell the eggs off. So the chicken is a continual source of income for me at the same time. And so I'll make my chicken money back in no time. Now at this point, the lady from the flower shop does show up at my farm, invites me to the local picnic. And you know how hard it is to take a day off from the farm and all the work that's going on. But I put it on hold. I go to the picnic, and holy cow, this is my kind of picnic. Yeah, there's no food or anything like that, but there's only 3 people, so a small crowd, always a plus. And then also, once you talk to all 3 people, you're free to go. The picnic's over. Like, that is my kind of social event in like actual real life. Talk to 3 people, out the door. Now back at the village, things seem to be going, pretty much according to plan here. However, I do talk to one of the sprites in the cellar, and this little gnome creature here, he offers to upgrade my hoe if I just simply give it to him for 24 hours. And I'm like, sweet, I could use a better hoe inside the game. So I give him the hoe, and I wait for 24 hours inside the game time, and I go back to him, and nothing happens. So I go and give him 2 days. I give him 2 days, I go back to him, nothing happens. I'm like, well, what's going on here? I can't, continue the game here if I don't have a hoe, to plow the fields. And so I finally just look it up online, and they mean 24 hours real time. And so at this point, I'm like, well, I can't do anything else in the game without this particular tool. So I just simply turn the game off, wait, I think I've waited like a little less than 24 hours, truth be told. Turn the game back on the next day, and sure enough, right in the place of the old hoe was a golden hoe, and this particular one will actually simply plow out an entire line of the field at once. And my gosh, what a time saver this truly is. And so a huge deal as far as like upgrading this particular piece of equipment. I did read when I was looking at it, evidently I could have upgraded the sickle as well, or my scythe, but somehow I missed that inside the game. I don't know if I accidentally like refused the sprite when he offered me to upgrade the sickle or not. But once I refused it, evidently it's gone forever. I never had an opportunity to upgrade to the golden sickle at all throughout the entire experience here, and so I'm just sort of stuck with that. But that's not a huge deal because I'm going to end up accumulating so much wheat inside my silos that a golden sickle would almost be pointless. But at this moment, the spring season, or our first season, is coming to a close, and I have to say, the game thus far, the first season, a phenomenal experience. I enjoy getting a hold of the farm here, cleaning out all the debris, planting all my crops, finally getting the chicken, doing little local events, figuring out all the shops. The spring season was a great experience, plenty of things to do, and just a really fun time as an overall. And also, like, the spring background music was a really enjoyable little catchy tune to have in the background. And so the spring season, if the game could have kept this up, I would have loved the first Harvest Moon on the Game Boy. But the summer season rolls around, and the first thing you notice right off the bat is the summer season's background music is not as good as the spring music. It's not a bad song, but I just have no desire to re-listen to the summer theme that's echoing in the background. Now, the summer season does have a little bit different aesthetic as far as like colors on your farm here, and you also can't grow the same crops that you were growing earlier. Now you have to grow tomatoes and corn, and the really cool thing about the summer crops is once you plant them and once you harvest them, they actually continue to come back. They continue to produce fruit or vegetables here, and that's a big plus because you don't have to continue buying more and more seed, and it allows you to expand your farm a little bit further out because you can basically get more for your resources here. And so basically a similar amount of time period as far as, you know, planting, watering as the days go by, but you are going to be making a heck of a lot more money off the tomatoes and the corn than you ever were out of the turnips and the potatoes. And speaking of these new crops, we are able to finally ride our horse. We can finally ride Belle around the farm here. And when you're doing that, you can also equip Belle with saddlebags. And the saddlebags, I think, were $2,500. Totally worth it because at this point, you can take Belle out to the field and you can just simply pluck the product and simply just stick it onto Belle's saddlebags here. And that counts as taking it like to the trading box. This is going to speed up your process of harvesting your crops like 4 times over. Maybe even more than that because you don't have to run anywhere near as far as you would when you're taking everything to the trader box. And also during the summer, I'm able to get all 4 cows bought from the store, placed inside the barn here. I named all 4 of the cows after 4 of my all-time greatest cats that I've ever had. The first cow I named Trevette after a cat I had several years ago. Amazing cat. I actually have a video of Trevette on the channel. I'll try to put a link to Trevette up above here. Another cow I named Bill, because it wouldn't let me put a Y on there. Bill, after a cat I had named Billy. Amazing cat. Billy's still doing well. The third cow is going to be named Kari after another all-time greatest cat who's since passed on. And the fourth cow is going to be named Puff after one of my favorite cats I had as a child. All the way from like 3rd grade up through actually outside of college. Great cat. I should do like a whole video just like the all-time greatest cats I've ever had for the channel. But that's a different story for a different day. I have 4 cows on the ranch now. I did get the little cow brush as well, so I can go up and, you know, brush the cows, increase their happiness rate, which increases my character's happiness rate. And at the end of the year, when you're evaluated, you're actually evaluated on part of your happiness. And so little things like this do make a difference as far as like in-game goes. I will acknowledge as far as like milking the cows, I did have a little bit of trouble figuring out like how the milking mechanics worked exactly in the game. But that didn't really make a whole lot of difference as far as like my income, because I wasn't bringing in so much money from the vegetables and the chicken eggs. The milking didn't even really play any important role in the income at all. But the summer season here, like my farm has exploded. 4 chickens, 4 cows, saddlebags, a horse that can travel across the entire farm with me. Everything's going great as far as the Ogles farm here is concerned. Now, when fall rolls around, I really do enjoy the aesthetics of fall. It's one of my favorite seasons anyway, so naturally I'm going to enjoy it inside the game. I feel like the music fits well with fall. It's not as good as the spring music, but for an autumn season, the music is pretty good. And the background here, I was worried that the grass that I harvest in the back was not going to grow back because usually doesn't grow in the fall season here. But it still grew back. I was still able to put more away in the silo for my cows and my chickens for their daily feedings and such as that. Also during the fall, you can't grow your tomatoes or corn anymore. Your only crop that you can grow at all is eggplant. And it doesn't do like tomatoes and corn. You have to actually plant a different plant every time you harvest it. So you're going to have to purchase a decent bit of eggplant seed here as you go. But I've cleared out like every single square on the entire farm here. And I just go through and I plant eggplant in every single spot that I possibly can. I mean, I am just a eggplant master at this point. My entire farm is just one giant eggplant. And of course, this is all I'm focused on for pretty much the entire fall season. I do get the local carpenter who looks like Fraser Crane to come visit me here. And old Fraser, he takes a look at my farmhouse, gives me an estimate, which is pretty reasonable. It's just a few $1,000s, and I'm sort of rolling in the money at this point from my eggplant farms. And he upgrades my house to like the super deluxe, and then I upgrade again a second time after that to the ultra deluxe. And each time you upgrade your house, it gets a little bit nicer inside, a little bit more expansive. And the outside of the house continues to grow a little bit more vertically as well, even though you don't have like multiple floors inside the house. I don't know, but regardless, Fraser does a good job building my house, and that's also one of the requirements to become a ranch master or master rancher. And so we are getting that knocked out of the way as well. And so the fall season here, truth be told, it's sort of a boring season. It's not going to be as bad as winter, but it is going to be a boring season because really nothing happens. There are no events for me to go to. There's no like little activities for me to do from the locals as far as like finding things. All I really do here is plant eggplant, water eggplant, harvest eggplant over and over and over, with the one exception of building a house upgrade with Fraser here. And overall, fall was not my favorite season, and the game is starting to get a little bit on the tedious side. But then winter rolls around, and don't get me wrong, like I love a good winter aesthetic, and I like the aesthetic here. I love a good winter soundtrack, and they're not going for the Christmassy winter soundtrack. They're going for the desperation and the sadness of winter soundtrack. So what the Mother games went for when they had like the winter theme in those games. And I enjoy when games go in this direction because winter can be a sad, long season. And so I enjoy the overall aesthetic that they're going for, the music, but holy cow, like this is the most boring season in the entire game. You can't do eggplants anymore, so now you do carrots, but it's pretty much the same mechanics over again. And there are no little events that take place. There's nothing to break it up, no house expansion, no new animals to buy, no new villagers to talk to, literally nothing. I just simply plant carrots, I water carrots, I harvest carrots, and then I plant more carrots, and it's just day in, day out. I mean, even when like Christmas rolls around, I was expecting like a little Christmas celebration. No Christmas celebration. You know, I rush out the door. There's no town folk, you know, greeting me with a Christmas celebration or like a little present. I even journey into town, you know, hoping that maybe in town they're going to have like a little Christmas tree set up. No, nothing there. I even go to the church on Christmas Day. Church, you know, nothing there either. And I know they're a Christian church. I mean, she's got the cross on her right there, but no Christmas celebration. I even wait till the nightfall, like maybe nightfall. Maybe we're having like a little Christmas tree lighting. Nothing. I gotta say, like I was really expecting a Christmas celebration inside the game here. I mean, they gave me a picnic earlier in the game. They've had a fireworks celebration in year 2. I mean, come on, they could have done something for Christmas on here. But regardless, a sad ending to the or a sad near ending to the winter season. And at this point in the game, like it's not really, I wouldn't say like fun anymore. It feels more, I guess, just like work. It's really the best way I can describe it because I'm not really doing anything outside of just waking up every day, harvesting crops, going to bed, doing the same thing over and over and over. And it's just very tedious. That's all I can say for it. The winter theme, which was pretty good, the music in the background, you begin to hate it because you just hear it over and over and over. And there's nothing to distract you from it. You're just simply doing the repetitive motions continually. And at this point in the game, I'm getting a little bit annoyed. I'm tired of the game. I'm ready for it to probably come to a close. I feel like the game has sort of run out of steam. It was very front heavy as far as like a lot of cool stuff to do in spring. Summer, still some pretty cool stuff to do. A lot of new upgrades. Fall was sort of the closing out. Winter here, I'm pretty much done with the game. I'm about tired of playing it. But when winter comes to a close on the day 30, my grandfather comes down from heaven. He evaluates my ranch here. And he doesn't give me a outstanding score. He doesn't say that I am a master rancher. And it's disappointing because then I have to start a whole nother year and I have to go through all of this again in order to possibly achieve the master rancher status. And so I looked it up, like what was I missing? Like what knocked me out from being a master rancher the first time? So I looked it up. I had the right number of cows. I had the right number of chickens. I had the right number of blocks cleared out, even though he expanded the farm for more blocks to clear out in year 2 here. The shipments though, I only shipped out 2,329 items, but I'm supposed to ship out 4,500. So I got a lot more shippings to go. I had the house already upgraded. The affection of the cows was fine. I had the right amount of money. My happiness meter was right at what it had to be. It has to be 250, and I was right at 250. And I only had 5 power berries, and I need to have 6 power berries. So really what it boils down to is I need 1 more power berry, and I need to ship out about 2,200 more items. And so I did the math here, and I was like, I'm going to figure this out. In order to ship out 2,200 more items, I'm going to divide by 9, which is how many little pieces come in a seed bag here. I need to buy 245 plants or seeds from the shop and plant in order to meet my goal here for the next year. And so year 2 basically comes a challenge here of just simply clearing out the land for the first part, clear out all the land, get it all cultivated, finished up, get the last power berry that way, and then every single season, all I focus on, I don't check on the cows, I don't check on the chickens, I do literally nothing for the next 4 seasons except go out there, plant, water, harvest. When those are done, go back, buy more seeds, plant, water, harvest, and just continue doing over and over and over. And you do an entire another year of this game, which is like, I'm not kidding, 6 or 7 hours of just doing the same repetitive motion over and over. And it is pretty much torture at this point. And I did not enjoy year 2 in this game in any form or fashion whatsoever. I'm going to do some speed up gameplay in the background here to sort of go through year 2. Year 2 was just pure misery. There was nothing to really break it up. There were a few, like little events to go to, but you weren't excited about it anymore. You were just annoyed with what the mechanics of the game were. You didn't get to buy any new animals. There were really no new vegetables mixed things up. There were no new really tools to find. Just same repetitive nature over and over and over. And year 2, pure misery. However, at the close of year 2, Grandpa comes back down from heaven. He talks to me and he says, hey, you did a great job. You've accomplished all this stuff here. You've lived up to the, Ogles name at this point. But he does grant me Master Rancher, says I'm a fine young man, and then the game is pretty much over. The credits begin to roll. We get a great little cutscene here of me and my cow walking across the farm. I mean, beautiful little cutscene. I wish they had mixed the game up and put more of these little cutscenes throughout, because I just love this animation style, and I think they did a great job with the coloring and just the overall aesthetics of it. Fantastic way to end the game here with the credits. The ending music was also really good, but I think some of that might just simply play into the fact that I was so sick of hearing the other 4 jingles from the seasons that any song would have been a good song at this point. And so the ending of the game, really good here, but then you go back into your main little farm and you can continue playing the game pretty much forever. However, I consider this the end of the game since, we've achieved the final status. We got Master Rancher from Grandpa, and we got the credits. So this is the official ending of Harvest Moon. But to me, overall, I'm excited to see, where 2 and 3 go, because I feel like they're really going to correct the mistakes of 1 here. Because in this first game, it started off fantastic. I felt like I had found the game I should have played as a kid. It would have been like an instant classic. I loved it for the first season. Second season was really good. Third season, not as great. Fourth season, pretty bad. And I feel like if the game had ended there, I don't think I would have really had such a negative taste about the 4th season. But then having to play for the entire game a second time in order to get the official ending of the game, man, that was just torture. It was awful. And so really when you look at it, I'm looking at a game here of 8 parts. And only one of the 8 parts was really great, which was spring. 1 part was pretty fun, which was summer. And then the entire rest of these 6 seasons were all pretty awful. Man, that stacks up to be a pretty bad game as an overall. And so I hate to give Harvest Moon a bad review, because the first 2 seasons were really fun. But I don't ever want to go back and replay this particular Harvest Moon probably ever again. I mean, it just sort of got on my nerves, and it felt like an enormous waste of time. It felt more like work for the vast majority of the game. And so I'm really hoping part 2 and part 3 are going to solve this issue. I do know in the Super Nintendo game and some of the other games, you can actually have a relationship and you can get married, which is what I mentioned in the beginning of the video. And I feel like that would probably break it up a little bit and keep it entertaining throughout all the seasons, maybe even to a second year as far as having dynamics or a story or a character to bounce things off of. But it just felt like a very lonely adventure for the vast majority of the game. And I probably won't go back and play this particular Harvest Moon again, but I am looking forward to see what the other ones do have in store. But what do you all think about Harvest Moon for the Game Boy Color? Is this one of your all-time favorite games? Do you feel like some of the other Harvest Moons are better? Or is this the peak of the series and I'm just sort of wrong about the overall fun of the game. Let me know in the comments down below. But if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out my other videos listed up above. If there's a Game Boy game you want to see me cover sooner or later, let me know that in the comments down below as well. And as always, go out there, find a great game to play. Just simply have a great rest of the day.